So the biggest thing I have seen is 98 ad accounts in one agency. And I was like, okay, this is absolutely impossible
and you have your checklists and you have like a very systematic approach, you live a more relaxed marketing lifestyle.
because every client is a completely different universe. I noticed that if my room is organized, my head is organized. If somebody touches my automated rules, I will probably murder them.
Performance marketers in agencies and freelancers often juggle more accounts than is humanly reasonable. The default outcome is burnout. 70% of creative, media, and marketing professionals reported experiencing burnout in the last 12 months, according to the 2024 Mentally Healthy Survey, the most recent industry specific data that we have. But within that 70%, some people clearly still handle the workload without collapsing. So let's find out what they're actually doing differently. I'm Scott, and on Birch Talks, we focus on the human side of marketing work, share inspiring stories, and specific frameworks that help you build campaigns that you're proud of. Today, we're joined by Fer Rivero, Head of Performance at Galeo Performance. Fer has over 10 years of experience scaling D2C brands across the world. He's spent more than $55 million on Meta ads and has simultaneously managed 23 accounts. Let's welcome Fer. So, Fer, with the absolutely perfect backdrop for today's discussion about avoiding burnout when managing multiple ad accounts, Fer, I know from your history that you have gone through this process. You've got the experience of managing multiple ad accounts. I've got a note here to say up to 23 ad accounts at a time. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is.
Talk to me a little bit about your experience and what you do now versus where you kind of graduated your career and how you got started.
Yeah, so I started really early on, like when Meta developed the ads manager originally, and it was Facebook, it was a Meta back then. I basically just wanted to create some ads because, like every other person on social media, I wanted to have more followers and more likes and stuff like that. So ultimately, I had the first ad account, with my name and my Instagram connected. At some point, the neighbor told me, "Oh, I have this business. I heard you're good at this." So I started picking up on ad accounts from businesses nearby. It was a different process because you had to kind of like log in with their email every time.
The conversation about I've had this in outside of just paid marketing. When you work in an agency, sometimes you're managing people, you've got colleagues, and you're distributing accounts across the agency, just client accounts, not even ad accounts. And you kind of get this sense of when there's too many ad accounts or too many clients to manage. To be honest, sometimes as a manager, you might get that information a little bit too late because employees tend to take on more ad accounts or more clients that they can actually manage just to try and impress their peers, their colleagues, their managers, so on. How do you manage that? Like how many clients, how many ad accounts is it possible to manage and how do you figure that out?
So the biggest thing I have seen is 98 ad accounts in one agency. I was just a client of the agency, so I was helping, and I was like at the same time a client of my one of my brands. But I remember talking to the media buyer, and then he was like, "Hey, how many ad accounts do you have access to?" And I was like, "Well, like around 20 something." And then he was like, "I have to manage 98 accounts per month." And then he showed me the list, and I was like, "Okay, this is absolutely impossible. Like, there's no possible human way where your brain can diversify into 98 different pockets." I will say already 20 is a lot. Like 12 maybe with really good organization you can do. But now I see how brands are really concerned about media buyers and like, creative strategists working with too many people. So we always say maximum we have three. But in the past, I would say beyond four, you are taking a risk because every client is a completely different universe. What works now, especially like Meta is super individual on accounts and even TikTok and so on, you have this unique everything. It's not only the branding, the images, the type of ads, the language, the landing pages. And maybe one account has an issue that is more the ads are not working. Another one might be more technical level. The advertising is simply not properly set up. Another one could be like the landing pages being awful. So yeah, now it's extremely hard. Like we specialize a bit too much on every aspect of the business, and a manager shouldn't. Like I will say three, four maximum. Um, but it depends. If you have only a person uploading ads, maybe they can have more accounts and be okay with it. But we're constantly correcting a lot of errors from people who mass upload and people who have like mass amounts of accounts. Agencies are losing a lot of clients because of this. So yeah, there is.
Yeah. And also to maximize the amount of ad accounts that you can manage, that depends on the efficiency of the systems, workflows that you've built, which is something I want to talk to you about. So you've already mentioned there some differences between the start of your career and then also now where you've got this really good idea about what work people can take on, that you can take on, and how to do that. This might take a little bit of time, but let's break some of that down over time. Some of the like principles or methodologies, some people refer to them as, that have helped you standardize ad management across you for your own work and for your agency. Talk me through what comes to mind when I talk about that.
So my career, we talk about this, and I didn't dive too deep in it. I started with my own account, right? Then I
Yeah.
started having with small businesses. Every business, they want to diversify and go into Google. They want to go into Facebook and Instagram, Meta, and now they also want to go into TikTok. So you have maybe one business with three different accounts. Then later on, I started having bigger businesses. So I started working for like really big companies, and they have multiple ad accounts within a business manager. So maybe the same brand has one account per continent.
Mm.
And then these accounts, maybe the US market is completely different from another one. So there's like all these tiny things that I need to write down. Like even though you learn it after time, if they're given to you progressively, like imagine it's your first day at an agency or in your own company or with a new client, and they're like, hey, here we go, boom, and they give you access to 12 different accounts. It's a little bit of like, oh my God, I'm going to mess up. But if you get them progressively, it's way easier to develop and see, okay, I can do this.
So many questions come to mind when you talk about that process. So the first thing that comes to mind, and thinking back to earlier in my career, one of the things I guess I struggled with a little bit when I was learning paid advertising, is that I'm the kind of person I like to get hands on, run like to to run ad accounts. I actually set up my own projects for my own like side businesses, side hustles, that kind of thing. And I would create ad accounts and run ads with my own money to learn paid advertising. Now, of course, back then I wasn't spending a lot of money because it was my own money. But doing that was the only way I felt comfortable then managing ad accounts at an agency. I think it's really hard. It's kind of hard to just to learn, because you either learn on the job and make mistakes, or you invest your own money, which not everyone can do, obviously. I thought for myself that I was willing to spend the money because it was like an investment in my career. That's kind of how I looked at it. But you just talked about your kind of career background then. Did you do a similar thing? Were you investing in like running small paid experiments for your own projects and things like that?
Yes, actually, I feel this is the most important part. When you use your money, you learn faster.
Mm,
Because, like when it comes from your pocket. I mean, I
that's
started when
funny.
I was 17. So you kind of like, you have way more care early on. You're like, hey, if I don't check the ad account, tomorrow my bank account might have 50 less,
Mm,
dollars or euros or something. But now with clients, I feel, and clients might not know this is like good for brands. Like when you're working with an agency, you tell them like, hey, we have 20K, a day. This agency it might be one guy that is overcrowded with accounts. And then this guy is like, okay, another 20K. Like numbers become numbers. They don't become real money in the bank account. We
mm,
forget about it. So it's really important to have that training early on where you actually remember that money is money.
mhm.
And that these numbers that you're seeing, like when it says that, hey, you're losing 2,000 a day, is somebody's bank account that is losing 2,000.
Yeah.
I recommend to people that they actually practice with their own account as you did.
Another part of what you talked about there, and just in general, everything that you're saying here is like this is knowledge that you learn, but then you have to share that with other people in your team or with your clients. So how do you talk to me about your process of like learning but then sharing? What systems do you use? How do you impart your knowledge on your team and your clients?
Okay. So let me try to organize this as clear as possible. Um, so we have now, because of my job now, I do need to share a lot of knowledge and data and so on.
Mm,
I see, because of a specialization or the focus that we have on specializing, that now I have to share certain knowledge with creative strategies, another one with media buyers, another one with C-level founders and like head of growth and so on. So the way that I do everything, my first methodology that I probably can recommend to everybody is pilot checklist. So I have like literally an Excel sheet that I run for every account early
mhm,
on in the week. I know some accounts maybe I do it on Monday because they start Monday and you can see what they want this done. Other people maybe Monday they're taking more to understand, analyze data, and then Tuesday they're more hands-on. But I have this checklist where this is like what pilots do, before you fly, they have the checklist that they have to do and everything has
mhm,
to be crossed over. That way the plane you don't forget because of routine to activate something or to deactivate. So this is like the checklist for pilots is literally going through all of the apps that you have, analyzing the CPR, analyzing the ROAS, return on investment. Every client has a different KPI that matters to them. This is kind of like something to remember. I have it written also like this brand, this KPI, this brand, this KPI. And then just cleaning the ads, cleaning everything that is not spending after the weekend. I do this cleanup like 2, 3 times a week. But the
yeah.
Monday one, I literally have on the iPad a checklist that
Mm.
I'm like, okay, this, da, 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 done. This, da, 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 done. This one. And then I do the same. It takes me 2, 3 hours.
Yeah, and I think the thing that comes to mind for me is that some people might listen to that and think that that's like the boring side of ad management, I'm sure. But it's like a foundational skill. And I also think this lends itself to actually the topic of burnout and stress in managing multiple accounts. If you're managing the fundamentals each week in the way that you've just said, and you have your checklists and you have like a very systematic approach, you live a more relaxed marketing lifestyle because you know there are not going to be any major problems. When you don't have that and you struggle to stick to routines, and I think you actually used the phrase routines as you were talking. When you struggle to do that, that's when you start to get caught up in the chaos of this client wants this ad change, and you just lose the status of where you're at because you've got so many campaigns or ads running and you haven't gone through that kind of weekly routine. Sorry, as we're talking about routines, and you mentioned you've got an Excel checklist, for you to be able to get to that point where you have this very kind of systematic approach, you must be well organized. So tell me, like, some of the other organization tools or workflows. Like, talk to me about like how you manage your week, how you get this stuff done.
So overall, I mean, I noticed that if my room is organized, my head is organized. This is the first thing to say. Like, there's a lot. Like I can see that when I'm having managing multiple accounts, if there's chaos around me, I'm slower. I'm just
Mm,
slower. Now in the routine, kind of like a talk, there is. So this is like going to train, going to sports, like training any professional athlete sports. There's so many days that you don't feel like doing anything. You're like, can I just stay in my sofa and watch Netflix? But it is the routine and having like something written that you have to go through that will avoid your brain from making errors. And it's, as you mentioned, like if so for example, the account will have all types of issues. Clients have like the seasonalities. Black Friday is the most stressful thing that you can go to any
mm,
like performance marketing expert. Um, but having this list and having it done, when the issue appears, you're like, there's like less worry because you know that you have done everything as every week. So the issue has to be something else. So it helps you dissociate kind of like the problem and be like, okay, this is definitely not coming from my work. It has to be coming from something else.
mm,
And this is something that I see that For me, when the founders or when there are like multiple media buyers and so on, they touch the account as well. We need to put a person to be the person who will be touching the account the most.
Hmm.
Like we need to know who's making the changes. And then we want them to write on a Slack or whatever channel the company is using the changes that they made in bullet points.
Yeah,
Bullet
makes
points are
sense.
like the second methodology that I have. But I need to know. So, for example, if somebody posts all of the bad ads in one ad set, cool. Thank you for doing it. I understand that you posted, but why didn't I do it? So I need to know like, was it because there was a bug? Was it because Meta AI was like, you know, doing something? So we keep a lot of communication, kind of like sharing, like, hey, I did this, I did that. I did pa 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 pa.
Hmm.
But it's a little bit of like using a bullet point system to really keep the team informed of all the changes and later going back to it when there's something like, missing. Now we have a lot of bugs on Meta because of AI and so on. So we can quickly look for and be like, hey, remember you did ta 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 ta. Here is where the bug is might be happening.
Okay, so I'm hearing there frequent and clear communication.
And then I have like the UTM parameters. So really silly thing.
Yeah.
But every time you have to go back, every brand has like a different UTM parameters. Every time you have to go back and find them and so on, it's just like a waste of time. So
Mm.
what I did now is I have one page on my notes per brand. And this will have like all the landing pages, all the UTM parameters, all the drive folder links. So I don't have to go to the drive and be like, oh, let me find this and that and that and that and that. I'm really a Drive, Notion. Notion, we use it probably for some brands use it for uploading. So they
Mm.
will put the link in Notion with all of the stuff, and it links the creative strategist to the media buyer. But mostly Slack, Notion, and yeah, like notes in my computer. I do have my iPad, so I have double screen.
Yeah,
For
that
me, the
makes
double
sense.
screen, if I have three, I will lose my mind. But double screen is really helpful, mostly to compare. So sometimes you're opening something, you want to have Meta in one place, and then you duplicate the page, and you're comparing live in two screens just to see like different time frames or different like gender data or something like can be report versus ad account. So yeah, most of the tools that I use, I don't use inexpensive tools. I'm a really cheap kind of like media buyer. I notice the simple tools are better. And then the last one I use actually, and this will be the only automation one, will be Birch.
Mm.
That is the one I use for automation. And the automation, this is the part that if somebody touches my automated rules, I will probably murder them. Like sometimes I'm like, hey, I went to this rule and I change it, and I'm like, no, don't do
don't touch,
that.
don't touch the rules.
This is a rule. For myself, don't touch the rules.
As you were talking there, you talked about Slack. And what I'm
Mhm.
thinking is, I can't remember if we said this at the beginning, but you're in the Dominican Republic right now. And so I'm thinking about your communication with people that you work with. And I'm assuming that happens asynchronously. And I'm thinking about meetings. We're obviously speaking, we've carved out some time to talk today, but are you on like a semi holiday, like a little bit of work and a little bit of vacation?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
now, I mean, this is actually a really interesting part that might be controversial. Um, at some point, I noticed that working full time for one brand was leading to a gigantic amount of waste of my time. I think I got some methodology, like that's so organized, kind of like, the methodology behind my organization was so flawless, kind of like
Mm.
for me, at least mentally, that I had like maybe 15, 20 hours of my week that I was just in front of the computer, like, hmm. So now that I have like more control of kind of like the clients that I'm taking in, and all the accounts that I'm having access to, I started to divide my time and give clients that, hey, I can do this in 10 hours a week.
Hmm.
Most of them tell me that they want to hire me full time. And I tell them like, this will be a gigantic waste of money for you.
Mm.
I can do it in 10, 15, 20 hours as long as you let me have max 3 clients. So they can totally see that I'm doing these hours. I actually like I don't only manage their accounts in terms of like, data and like, reporting and cleaning the whole account of errors, fixing bugs and stuff. I also create ads for them. So I'm constantly training their creative strategies, which later we can go into it. I forgot before to answer this. And surprisingly, even though this will be more work, it led to me having more free time.
Mm.
So I can travel, like I have a lot of meetings, I can travel, but I also tell the clients when the meeting is useless and how they can use my time wisely uh, without having me in a meeting. Because half of the meetings are like useless. They could be perfectly a bullet point message or an email.
I think what you just said is important though. It's not just when people request you to invite you to meetings that you think are useless. It's not just saying, no, this is useless. It's saying, actually, this is how we can better use my time. And if you just take that, it's just such a tiny step. But if you do that, that's the way in which you can probably avoid unnecessary meetings, I think.
Yeah.
Is that how you do it?
It is. It is. I mean, I'm really clear. I like that founders, when they realize, once you have the chat with them, there's always a bit of like an aversion. Like,
Mm,
no, we're looking somebody who will be like full hands-on, like will breathe this brand and become part of the family. And I'm like, well, then you will have one person who will be isolated from all of the changes that media buying performance is going through. They will not have exposure to new accounts, new methods, new strategies, more like quick learning from errors of other brands. So if you want that, I usually tell them that I'm not the person. So now I'm like really specific on, hey, my time is this per week.
hmm.
You can use it however you want.
Yeah, that makes
Meetings
sense.
is the least efficient way of using it. If they told me, hey, can we have a meeting? I'll 100% have it. And I love to see them every once in a while. But this having 7 meetings a week to discuss the same,
Yeah.
and then you have the meeting and it's like, hey, oh yeah, the weather is nice. And then, you're like, this could have been a bullet point message on a Slack.
As you were talking a moment ago, you were talking about systems of organization and Notion. And at some point, you mentioned AI. And I was going to ask you, how has that changed your approach to organization? And in general, what are you using AI for when it comes to organization and ad management? Just talk me through what comes to mind.
So I noticed, I mean, this is the thing, you open LinkedIn and you have like AI is taking all over. Like it's going to steal the jobs. Um, but for me, it was like none of the AIs that are within the platforms is actually useful. So all the AIs that I'm using are like Claude, ChatGPT, like, it's like really basic AI stuff. And then none of them make me go faster. They just clear possible errors faster. So maybe I have like an issue with the landing page, and then I'm like, maybe this landing page is not performing better. It's not performing well because of some issues. So I will give it to Claude to scrap the whole thing.
Mm.
Maybe if I have a lot of data, I use it a lot for data analysis. I think pattern recognition is the most important part of how AI can really help you. There's a fly that loves me around. Sorry, I'm moving a lot. There's like
No, yeah.
a fly loving me. This is the problem of being in the Dominican Republic. So I use a lot of like taking the screenshot, giving it to Claude, giving it to ChatGPT or something, and be like, hey, there is a pattern I cannot see. We have noticed this, 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 this. What do you think will be the issue? And they do find some patterns. Sometimes they also give you like some useless information. But the only way that AI is really, it's not speeding up the process unless it's for analyzing patterns, maybe finding hidden things that I cannot see.
Mm. Yeah, that makes
That's
sense. So
all. Yeah.
using it as an additional thinking partner and kind of extending upon your analysis. Yeah, it makes sense. Like spotting gaps, it sounds like gap analysis a little bit more. Yeah. Okay. Um, on the topic of just, we've talked there about Notion, AI, Claude, I think you mentioned there. And then earlier you were talking about attribution. What I'm interested in, just in that whole topic around attribution, but more broadly, you're working with a client, they go to a conference, they go to a networking event, they're being marketed to by software companies all of the time, whether it's attribution tools or other tools. Talk to me about how you keep it simple for your clients. So, what tools do you like to use and do you like to have in place? And what's your message to, like, whether it's your clients or just anyone listening, what should they do when a tool company approaches them? What should they do?
So this is actually going to be a bit of a controversial topic. There is no tool. So if the tool is not approved by Meta, it's probably useless. That means, interestingly enough, the other day I was connecting an account and I was checking the API, and then it told me connect through Bridge. And this is a clear example because Meta within the ads manager offered me connecting the API through Verge. And I was like, okay, a tool that I know that I have been using for years that was recommended to me by a better media buyer than me. Now Meta and the company have invested into making the connection official, and you can see the logo within Meta. But then you have a lot of tools. These are the ones that the founders will, go somewhere, they will sell you the idea, and then they're like, yeah, our pixel is better than Meta's pixel. Our attribution model does this and that and that and that and that. So the only tools that I see really important are data tools like Triplewell, Northbeam, maybe something like Hyros. And this is only when the business is so complex, you have so many channels that you want to really understand how organic a team is, boosting paid performance and how paid. Maybe you have like Amazon destroying half of the paid efforts. So this is when you bring a data tool into the mix, but this data tool shouldn't promise to fix anything. It's just giving you uh extra hand to read data. Everything that is hands on, if it's not built with Meta or if it's not built with like TikTok or something like that, they haven't invested any effort, money, value into it. It's probably just like buzz.
Yeah. Two key lessons I'm hearing there. Number one is particularly when you're starting out, keep it simple and don't purchase these tools unless you really, really need to, and stick to the native tools within the platforms you're using. And number two, when you do want to scale up and use different tools to solve specific problems, look for the verified partners or the verified tools within each platform. Have I understood that
Right.
correctly?
That was a perfect summary of what I said.
There you go. I rarely ever get things perfect, so I'm happy with that.
Really,
Okay,
really well translated.
good. So I guess just closing, anything that we haven't covered here where people are maybe feeling overwhelmed about the number of ad accounts that they're managing. I've actually just been writing an article about marketers that are working on weekends and like reclaiming your weekends. Think about that type of person that's, working nonstop, working on the weekends, particularly running ad accounts. You've given a lot of great advice in this episode, but what else comes to mind that maybe we haven't covered that you use in your life to keep things smooth?
So, reporting and delegating. And I'm really bad at delegating, I gotta say. I'm going to preach something that I am learning at, so I shouldn't be preaching too high about it. Um, so on the reporting side, we have these tools that actually help you with the reporting. I would say AI. You can actually use AI for reporting and you can use AI for summarizing.
Hmm.
Because now we have too much information, and this is the thing that they're building with all the tools. It's just so much.
Mm.
Like you can see literally the people from like Texas, a woman between the 11 to 26, they click like 11% less on your ads, and it's like, calm down. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
okay, like we need to. So as you mentioned before, going back to the basics, this is super helpful. Most of the advertising, most of the ads don't perform because they're missing psychology behind the ads. Most of the websites don't perform because the landing pages and the website itself are missing a lot of like trust elements. So it's kind of like sometimes we try to look for this super complex, what is the issue? And it's the most basic thing. And then delegating. I think so now we want to replace everybody with AI,
Mm.
or companies want to, but actually delegating and teaching a junior media buyer how to upload the ads. Uploading is now probably the most painful process.
Mm.
And you have different brands that can do it, right? That can speed it up. So you have like Ad Manage, you have Birch, you have like many things. But it's still ultimately at the end of the day, you want the person to be able to dive through Meta or dive through TikTok. TikTok is really easy to use, but also you need to dive in. And you want both yourself and the person that you're delegating to upload for you. You keep control of everything. You teach them, you invest like 10 hours of your month to make sure that this person is an expert at uploading ads. You make sure naming conventions are clear. as the sky behind me, I can say. Um, and then just delegating and giving tasks to people who will be learning from you, it will really give the weekends. I really get so much time back when I delegate. In fact, when I don't have a junior available, maybe some of the brands that don't want to hire juniors, and they're like, hey, I feel more comfortable when you upload. If it's a couple hours a week, I don't mind. But most of the times I say no, and I prefer to divide my budget and give it to a junior so I
Mhm.
can actually live free because it might be 12 in the evening and I'm uploading ads.
Most teams plan every campaign in a spreadsheet, then rebuild the whole thing by hand in Ads Manager, burning time in a copy-paste exercise. With Verge, that sheet is the ultimate ad launcher. Stage maps your copy, your URLs, your creatives from Drive, and builds the ads for you. Scentbird reclaimed about 40% of their weekly campaign time with Verge. Skip the rebuild. Only in June, the first 2 months are on us. YouTube exclusive. Find the promo code in the description and apply it after your free trial.
Second thing I will invest. Oh, sorry. I mean, you did this. You did this, so you know exactly what this is how we learn it. Um, Second thing will be books, marketing books. It comes to mind like Ogilvy, one of the best marketers out there. And a few brands that gave me like books that were like, this is our Bible. This is like the Bible that we had. And it was like rules about marketing. It was psychology of marketing.
Mhm.
Um, it was marketing in the 60s, 70s, 80s. And then these books, even for now, it feels like weird to open a book for a lot of people. They have the real marketing psychologically, like psychological cognitive biases. They have the real why people actually buy your products. So putting this and understanding, it really creates neural paths in your head of saying like, hey, maybe this whole ad account is not performing because we're failing at the most basic human thing, which
Mhm.
is desire or reputational trust. So this will be the second thing. Now, I do like a lot. I follow Dara Denny. I think Dara is one of the best marketers that we have in the planet. She might not necessarily be the best one technically or something, I don't know, but she's extremely good at communicating the changes that every platform is having. And I think being informed about everything that the platform is changing is going to give you an advantage. Because every time I open, for example, Meta, there's like 7 new AI things.
Mm.
And I upload an ad, and suddenly it's like, would you like to have like 7 variations of this ad? Now, if you add this, and if you add that, and if you add this, and I'm like, hey, can you just read the basics? Like, I want to do my own targeting. They're like, no, but broad will perform better. I'm like, no, I invested a billion on broad, and it didn't perform better than when I target this specific product. So understanding and following a couple creators that will tell you the differences and what's being new, maybe even following or having a chat with Meta media managers or Pinterest or like TikTok. So they tell you exactly what changed. That could be a good investment. And if the last controversial one, I shouldn't say this. I paid a lot of money to go to university for marketing.
Mhm.
The only thing that was helpful, and I went to Oxford, so this is really expensive. The only thing that was helpful to me was creating mind maps.
Mm.
I didn't
Mm.
learn anything that I didn't learn by myself testing my own ad account, but they always forced me to create a mind map to organize everything. So when I have like a really big project, like a brand with many things, they gave us a tool to create. Now you have Miro online, but they gave me a tool called MindNote, and seeing everything visually. I also use Figma. I forgot, but Figma, I do it now on Figma. Seeing everything in a visual way clears 50% of the mental load of having many ad accounts. That means I have a whole mind map that I can see the whole company. I can see everything. I can see the strategy, the events, what's going to happen, seasonality. Then I go into Figma and I can see all of the ads that are coming this week to be uploaded. I can see all of the ads that didn't perform from last week. So I can see all of the ads that are performing really well. So having this visual thing was the only thing that I learned from university, not telling people to not go to university or anything like that. And not going to give that advice, but testing yourself and visually seeing everything before it happens, it really eases your brain and helps you have less errors.
Well, we've just got our degree from Fer Rivero. So if people want to find out more about you and how to learn from you and to work with you, where can they find you?
Um, I live in Switzerland, so if anybody wants to come visit, it's really expensive, but please come. They can find me. My agency is like a one-man agency, kind of like it's called Galeo Performance .ch. I will say LinkedIn is the best way to talk to me. A lot of people do reach out with like with asking for advice and so on. So I'm always happy to help. And if any brand as well, they are struggling or something, I'm always like a call away.
All right. That sounds perfect. And what are you doing with the rest of your day in Dominican Republic? What's going on out there
Well,
today?
I have to design a lot of ads.
You make sure you have fun. Okay, take care. So let us know in the comments, what's the craziest number of ad accounts that you've managed at any one time? And how did you manage? And remember, hit subscribe to Birch Talk so that you don't miss another video.